Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here. Let me take you into a journey of life and love. My name is Madison. I was 23 when I met Dean, a kind and gentle man. We met at a friend's wedding party. He smiled at me from across the room. When he came to talk, my heart beat fast, and our conversation flowed so easily. We talked for hours that night about life, family, and the dreams we both carried. The next day, he called me, and soon we were talking every single day. We met for coffee, watched old movies, and shared small moments that felt like forever. He listened when I spoke, truly listened, and I felt seen for the first time. I loved him deeply, and he loved me too, with warmth and quiet devotion. One evening, while walking through the park, he suddenly stopped and held my trembling hand. He looked at me with shining eyes and asked softly, "Will you marry me, Madison?" My heart raced, my breath caught, and I smiled through tears as I said yes. We planned a small, sweet wedding with our family and closest friends gathered around us. That day felt like a dream, full of laughter, music, and promises of forever. But life after the wedding wasn't the fairy tale I had imagined in my heart. Dean's mother, Veronica, became a shadow that followed us into every corner of our home. She visited almost every day, uninvited, bringing food, opinions, and her quiet need for control. She told Dean what to eat, what to wear, even when to sleep or rest. And he listened to her like a child, never questioning, never saying no, never changing. I tried to smile, to stay gentle, to keep peace, but I felt invisible inside. She rarely spoke to me, but she spoke about me even when I sat nearby. Our home no longer felt like ours. It slowly became hers in every quiet way. One afternoon she looked at me and said, "You're lucky, Madison." Many wanted to marry Dean. Her words pierced me, and though I stayed silent, my heart cracked a little more. Soon Dean started coming home late, always saying he was with his mother again. I felt like an outsider in my own marriage, watching love fade from the walls. One night I said, "Dean, I feel lonely." "Your mother is always here, not you." He sighed and said, "Madison, you're too sensitive. Mother just wants to help. That's all." He didn't understand. He thought I was complaining, not breaking apart quietly inside. We argued often. I cried alone at night, wondering if this was really love anymore. After one terrible fight, I packed my bag, ready to leave before morning came. But when I woke, I felt strange, weak, and a deep heaviness in my body. My hands shook as I took a pregnancy test and waited for the result to appear. When I saw the word positive, tears filled my eyes, and everything inside me stopped. A baby. Our baby. A small piece of love still alive between all the pain. Maybe Dean would change. Maybe his mother would finally step back and leave us alone. Maybe this baby would save the little bit of love we had left to hold. This baby gave me hope. I decided not to leave. Not now. Not yet. This baby was my last chance to fix what was broken between Dean and me. That afternoon, I cleaned the house and cooked Dean's favorite meal, chicken and rice. I set the table, lit candles, and made everything soft and warm for the evening. I wanted to tell him about the baby when he came home that night, but suddenly the front door opened, and I froze. It wasn't locked again. And then Veronica walked in, as always, without knocking, without a single word of care. My happiness vanished in a second as she stared at the dinner and the candles. Her face tightened, her voice cold. "What is this supposed to be, Madison?" she asked sharply. I took a slow breath and said softly, "Veronica, I'm pregnant. I'm going to have a baby." She went silent for a moment, her eyes wide, then she gave a cruel, angry laugh. "Pregnant? No! That can't be Dean's baby!" she shouted, her words cutting through my chest. "Yes, of course it is," I said quietly, holding my tears, my voice shaking but steady. Her face turned red with rage. "You lied, you bad girl! You trapped my son! You can't have his baby!" she screamed, her voice filled with hatred I couldn't understand. I stood frozen. I was Dean's wife. Why was she saying such cruel, ugly things? Then suddenly, she raised her hand and slapped me hard across the face. My cheek burned, my head spun, and tears spilled down my face without control. She had slapped me, Dean's mother, in my own house, for carrying her grandchild. I stood trembling, my hand on my face, unable to speak or even move. Veronica was still shouting when the door opened again, and Dean walked into the room. He saw the dinner, the candles, me crying, and his mother standing there in anger. "What's happening?" he asked, his voice sharp, his eyes moving between us in confusion. "She slapped me," I whispered, pointing at Veronica, still shaking from the shock and pain. He turned to her and said, "Mother, did you hit Madison?" His voice was cold and steady. "Yes, I did," she said fiercely. "She says she's pregnant, but I don't believe her." "She's trying to trap you, Dean." I had to stop her before it was too late. Dean looked at her for a long moment, then turned to me, my face red and wet. "I believe Madison," he said quietly. Veronica's eyes widened. "What did you say?" she asked, her voice trembling with disbelief. "I believe Madison," he said again. "She's my wife." "This is my baby," Veronica shouted. "If you choose her over me, you'll no longer be my son." Dean took a deep breath and said softly, "Then I'm not your son anymore." Veronica screamed, said more angry words, and slammed the door behind her as she left. Dean came to me, his eyes full of regret and love, and whispered, "I'm so sorry." I cried in his arms as he held me tight, and the room felt quiet again. For weeks, Veronica didn't call, and Dean didn't reach out to her either. The house finally felt peaceful. No shouting, no control, just silence and a bit of warmth. Dean began talking to me again, really talking, about us, our baby, and our future. He said sorry for not seeing how much his mother had hurt and broken me. He promised to put me and our baby first, no matter what came next. It wasn't easy, but slowly, gently, we began to heal and find love again. Dean tried hard to be a better husband, gentle and present in every small way he could. We went to the doctor together, holding hands, nervous and excited as the screen flickered to life. And then we saw our baby, tiny, moving, real, a heartbeat stronger than our pain. 8 months later, our baby boy was born, his first cry filling the room with light. Dean looked at me with tears in his eyes and whispered, "Thank you, Madison." For everything our son brought joy and softness back into our home, a peace we had once lost. One quiet afternoon my phone rang, and my heart sank when I saw Veronica's name. She asked if she could visit the baby, her voice weak, unsure, almost trembling with regret. Dean looked at me and said, "It's your choice, Madison." I thought for a moment and said yes. She came a few days later, looking thinner, older, as if time had finally humbled her. I took her to the baby's room, where sunlight touched his small, sleeping face. She stood there silently for a long time, then whispered, "He looks just like Dean." Her eyes filled with tears as she turned to me and said, "I was wrong. About everything. About you. About the baby. I'm so sorry. Madison." I nodded gently. That was enough. No more anger, no more words needed between us. She understood now. We didn't become close, but the air between us finally felt calm. She never raised her voice again. She called before visiting and spoke softly when she came. And Dean, he never left my side again. He kept every promise he once forgot. Even when love feels broken, kindness and courage can slowly piece the heart together again. Family isn't only about blood. It's about respect, forgiveness, and standing beside each other through storms. Thank you for listening to this story. If it touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more.